You are watching GrassRoots Community Television, helping you make television people watch everywhere. Broadcasting on cable channel 82 in Glenwood Springs and Carbondale, and channel 12 in Aspen, Snowmass, Basalt, and Elder Bell. Free over-the-air broadcasts throughout the Roaring Fork Valley. All programs can be watched anytime, anywhere at grassrootstv.org.
The days go by, I can feel them flying like a hand out the window as the cars go by. It's all we've been given, so you better start living. You better start living. Better start living right now. As days go by, I can feel them flying like a hand out the window with the wind. The cars go by. It's all we've been given, so you better start living right now. As days go by.
Hello and welcome to MomsTV. When was the last time you volunteered in your kids' classroom, or did a little homework with them after school, or read a book, or corresponded with their teachers? If the answer to these questions was fairly recently and somewhat frequently, then you can count yourself among the reasons that kids succeed in school. Because the research shows that the more parents are involved in their kids' education, the better they're going to do in school. So we're talking about how we can help kids with that today. We're going to give you a list of reasons that it's important and a list of ways you can do it. And it starts in early education and goes all the way through high school. So we're being joined today by Lindsay Lofaro, who is the program director at the Buddy program. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us, Charlotte.
You're welcome. And I know that most people in the Roaring Fork Valley anyway are fairly familiar with the Buddy program, but for those who might be watching who are new to the Valley
Sure.
or watching from somewhere else,
Sure.
the Buddy program is a pretty well-established and maybe even nationally acclaimed program for mentoring.
Thank you. Yes, we have been in existence serving youth in Aspen for over 35 years. And we've been written up in a couple books by mentoring guru Dr. Susan Weinberger.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just really found that as we work with our big buddies and little buddies and the mentors that we work with, they do so much for our youth, but really there's so much that the parents need to be involved with too. And that's why we wanted to talk to you today more about parents' involvement in school and how they can be supporting their kids to really get through those tough years and get to high school graduation.
Right, and there's really great reason for them to do that.
Yes.
Before we dive into some of that, I also want to point out to everyone who's watching that the Buddy program is part of a consortium of groups and organizations in the Valley that have come together to really promote parenting this year. And I've said this before on this show, we're all about trying to help parents. And it seems to be somewhat of a trend that people are really trying to get involved in helping parents know some of the organizations that they can tap into, the resources, the tips and the tools, and it's just great. So I know that you all, in conjunction with our other sponsors of today's show, are part of the Parent Talk group.
Yes.
And that's being funded by El Pomar, which is a state-based fabulous organization. So just so happy to have you here promoting, you know, all the work that you guys do with the Buddy program.
Thank you.
Tell me, what's the first thing that you want to mention as to a reason why parents should be involved in their kids' education?
Well, there's so many, and there's so much research out there, like you said. But really, what we find is that we have great adult big buddies. We have great mentors that are involved with the youth in our community. But there's so much that the parents have to be doing to really get the kids through high school. It's not the mentor's job, it's still the parent's job. And we kind of use the Search Institute, which is a nationally based institute, has done a lot of research on what they call developmental assets, or traits that all young people should have to be successful in life. And among those traits, several times are reiterated, the involvement in school by the parents. And the more that the parents are involved with school, and I know we'll talk about this later, it goes above just going into the classroom to volunteer, the more that this youth will be successful in life in general and beyond high school if they have had that support from their parents from the beginning.
Right, and we know that if parents are really involved in their kids' education, their grades improve, their test scores improve, the graduation rates improve. Their drug and alcohol use decreases, violent incidents at school go down.
Exactly.
So parents play a huge role in that.
A really big role.
Yeah. What are some of the characteristics or traits from the Search Institute that you mentioned?
They focus on, I'm going to glance at my sheet, support for the youth, empowering youth, giving them reasonable boundaries and expectations as a parent is really important, and then making sure that the youth have constructive use of time. So both, you know, in the school day they're pretty busy, but after school and on the weekends, are they constructively using their time?
Right.
And that all those things combined will really set these kids up for success.
Right. Yeah, those are some great things to point out. One of the ones you just said was constructive use of their time. And so I'm curious, what constitutes constructive, do you think?
Well, I look at it as, you know, that there are not necessarily, the kid isn't going home and turning on the TV, you know, from 3:30 till 9 at night and isn't a couch potato on the weekend. I don't think that they have to be enrolled in activities that cost a lot of money in order for time to be constructively useful, but are they outside playing with their peers? Are they doing homework in the afternoons? Do they have a support system built in at the end of their day and on the weekends to really make sure that they're safe and they're doing healthy, constructive things?
So, and I know that the support system is one of the things the Buddy program obviously promotes with mentors, both adult mentors and you have peer mentors or student mentors, high school students who mentor younger kids, which I think is fabulous. So to me, it sends a message that just having anybody involved in a kid's life is a positive thing.
Exactly. And when we train our mentors and our big buddies, we really focus on giving them some of these tools to help their youth. But we look at it as a partnership with the parents. I mean, our big buddies are not there to replace the parent. It's not their role or their job to be a parent, but they can really work hand in hand with the parent to help achieve some of these goals along the way.
Right. In fact, I want to refer to my notes here too, because we are going to talk a little bit about families whose children do well in school. They have some really particular traits. Much research has gone into figuring out what really helps kids be successful in schools. And those families who have successful students in schools, and I'm not talking about kids who get straight A's. I'm just talking about kids who are academically proficient, they enjoy the environment of school, they do well with their peers, etc. Those families have certain traits all in common. And one of them is that they establish a daily routine. They give the kids a space, a place to do homework. They make sure that they have time to sit and talk over dinner about these things. But establishing a daily family routine is really important.
So critical.
Yep. The second one is that, and I love this, parents monitor their kids' activities. They go on Power School. They know their kids' grades. They stay involved, not hyper involved, not micromanaging, but they say, hey, how's that project coming? When's that one due? Do you need any help with this?
Absolutely.
In addition, I think this was really important. They also, you mentioned this earlier, they set limits. Why is that important, do you think, setting boundaries?
You know, as a parent myself and after working at the Buddy program for all these years, boundaries are so critical to teaching kids that there are rules in life and that those rules have to be followed. I mean, that is such a life skill that I think so many of us take for granted, but it's critical.
Well, we live in a society that has some rules.
Yes, exactly.
Don't you think also that it sends a message that somebody cares about them?
Yes, and that you can't just go out and do whatever you want whenever you want, but there are confines in which to work because I care about you as your parent or as your mentor, that I want to make sure that you're safe and that you are within the boundaries that are safe for you.
And it's true that the opposite can often be true for kids too, that if someone doesn't care enough to set boundaries, they feel like people don't care about them. So this is great. So I'm going to fly through a couple of these. The third one is that parents model the value of learning and hard work. So parents got to put in a little hard work now and then, and they've got to value that lifelong learning, reading the paper, reading a new book, whatever. The fourth one is expressing high but realistic expectations. I think we have to express our expectations for where we want our kids to be, or how are they going to know what to shoot for?
Exactly, and the higher you can set those expectations, the more that your kids will really rise to
and
them.
kids are going to listen to teachers and mentors and that kind of thing, but they're really going to listen to their parent when it comes to that. The fifth one is to encourage progress in school, showing an interest, discussing what's been happening, staying in touch with teachers. And the sixth reason that families whose children do well in school, this is the sixth reason that, common reasons, is that they encourage reading, writing, and family discussion.
So basic, and it's so important that we have those, whether it's built into a routine or whether it's just something that your family has always done, but reading together and sharing what you write together. And
what I love about these reminders, and a lot of research, as I said, went into figuring out the commonalities of families whose kids are successful in school, is that it doesn't mean you as a parent have to be sitting in the classroom, volunteering in the classroom. These are things you can do at home. In fact, research also shows that the support that parents give their kids at home is even more important than what they do with them in the classroom.
Yeah, and parents' time is limited, and we recognize that parents are busier than ever today. So if you don't have the time to make it into the school, here's something easy you can do over a dinner table conversation.
And key, have a dinner table conversation. Have dinner together.
Yeah.
We're going to come right back on the other side and be joined by our panelists, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what makes kids successful in school and what you as a parent can do to help.
Go by, I can feel them flying like a hand out the window as the cars go by. It's all we've been given, so you better start living. You better start living. Better start living right now. As days go by, I can feel them flying like a hand out the window with the wind. The cars go.
Welcome back to Moms TV. We are joined around the table now by a panel of experts. I always say we're all experts because we're all moms. So we're experts in what we do. But thank you to Lindsay Lofaro from the Buddy Program for being back. I know you're a mom of 2 preschoolers.
Yes.
Molly Tiernan, who is the fabulous counselor at Aspen Middle School. Thank you for being here. And also mom to a 14-month-old. And then Ligia, who is mom to 3 boys. 17, 12, and 9. So you've got a nice broad range of experience. And I know you're also part of the Head Start program. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. So we're happy to have you here too. And then back with us again is Tina Olson from Youth Zone, who's the family and youth specialist at Youth Zone. So what a great group. You guys are experts. And as you know, we're talking about parent involvement in schools. And I'm just curious what you guys think. Does it really make a difference? You're right there in the thick of it in the schools. What do you think, Molly?
It absolutely makes a difference. I think the hardest thing I see in middle school, you know, you come in as a 10-year-old and you leave as a 14-year-old, such a huge developmental span, is for parents finding the balance. In 5th grade, they're coming in, they're going on field trips, they're working in the classroom. In 8th grade, I hear, you know, I have to wait for parent-teacher conferences to find out what's going on, and that's only twice a year. So finding time for parents and a way for parents to balance how to figure out what's going on, how to stay in touch with their preteen or even, you know, teenager in some cases without hearing, Mom, get off my case, it's none of your business, things like that.
I'm smiling because I'm actually thinking of a memory of my oldest, who's now 18, but when he was in 8th grade, I happened to be in the building for a meeting or something, and I thought, oh, I'll just see if he wants a ride home, because it was the end of the day. So I walked up to what is the 8th grade core, and all the kids flooded out of the classrooms, and he took one look at me from like down the hallway, and he got this horrified look on his face, and he walks up to me, and this is a kid, we're pretty close, right? He walks right up to me and he goes, what are you doing here? Just like that. And I said, well, I just thought I'd see if you wanted to ride home. No, I'm fine. Bye. And it was that little bye that I thought, oh, I've done it. I've
just crossed the
that line.
Totally.
But it's probably really true that a lot of times when parents are in school, kids think there's something they've done wrong or there's a negative reaction to that, when it should be really positive that they see their parents in school.
Yeah.
And I think they want their parents to be involved, but they want it to be on their terms. So I like that you're involved, but I'm going to make the rules.
Well, and I had a friend recently who asked her son, I have an opportunity to chaperone, it was a high school trip actually, and she said, I have an opportunity to chaperone that trip you're on. What do you think? Yeah. And I thought, that was great. And he said, Mom, I think I'd really rather do it by myself. And she was like, totally fine.
Yeah. Developing autonomy, kids trying to do things on their own, especially, I'm speaking from the middle school perspective, is so crazy to watch because they want to do it on their own. Mom, I can do this on my own, and most of the time they're not quite ready. So our balance as being a parent and trying to help other parents see things from a kid's perspective is we're trying to find out how much is too much. How can you safely provide a spot for your kids to go out and test, their skills in the world. They're going to screw it up. They're not good at it. And then be able to come back and try it again without, you worry, what about their self-esteem? What about if they embarrass themselves? What about, is there a transcript involved? Is this permanent? And it's it's such a fine line. So that's why I always suggest spend more time listening than talking, because that's going to give you the perspective you need from your kid's point of view, that as much as we might try and guess at it or recommend a book or, you know, even say talk to other parents, it's your kid's going to tell you where they need you to be.
Right, but that's a great point. You have to be involved enough to be able to even listen.
You can't listen after parent-teacher conferences. I listened to your teacher and I heard, you know, it has to be all of the time. And I also encourage people, don't, you know, you want your kids to learn your values and you have family values, but don't make it a value-laden conversation where you're judging what they're putting out there, because if you create that situation, then they might not want to, if you seem disappointed in choices, they might not be ready to tell you the next time. And as they get older, consequences of their actions become more serious. And so you want to establish that when they're young, you know, I think, and keep that conversation pathway open.
In fact, I've even heard that the earlier parents get involved in their kids' schooling at some level, whether it's volunteering in the classroom or working with them at home, the earlier the better, the more powerful the effects of it are. Do you find that with your boys? I know you spend a lot of time with your 3 sons.
I do, and I will completely agree with your comment. But also, I think when we find ourselves being incorporated with our children at early life, it is so normal when we come and visit them and they see us, and it is nothing out of the ordinary life. So they're so used to see us be involved in many, whatever we're doing, whether it's at home or it's in the classroom or it's like an out curriculum activities they perform, and it is great to see much more about what research saying now, that when parents are involved with their children's education, they tend to perform better.
And Ligia, I'm curious what you think about this. I've heard that we're seeing even more Latino families being involved in their kids' education than they have in the past, maybe. And culturally, is there just a difference? What do you think?
It is culturally, my personally experience, I did not see that as my parents, a role model. Although my dad and my mom were like really focused on us and studied and go to school and doing all that, but they were never. My mom, I cannot even remember if she ever stopped at school. And parents, dads at the other side, it's really, their mentality is that it is kind of like mom job to monitoring that. Now, our program, through where I work, Early Head Start, we're trying to model parents more to come and be more involved.
But even what you just said
family.
about your own mother, even though she never showed up at your school, you said she was very active at home, and she valued it, and she showed you that she valued it, and that's what the research says is so. That's equally valuable. I mean, that's more important than volunteering in the classroom, for instance. So that's great. Great.
Right, and I think like part of it, we live in a life that right now they were so fast. Our day goes like super fast, and then we have to like make the time, and that since we don't have time quantity, we must find quality time with our children at home. We only have, they come back around 4 o'clock, and I come home 5 o'clock. And then this is not adding that we gotta go and cook and put like clean dishes and do all the stuff, homework and all that. So just to find the time and then really incorporate the whole family and then make modeling what we believe and what we want and high expectation for our children.
Oh, see, you're touching on all those things we talked about, right? All those things that make families have successful kids in school. So that's awesome.
I think kids will listen more but to action than to words oftentimes, especially middle school, wouldn't you say? Like they're going to watch and see, and then, but if you tell them, that sounds very different. Right, exactly, but they can see it. So I think the modeling one in particular.
Yeah.
And even though it's never, they hear us, they hear the school, they hear grandparents saying like, this is what you should be like doing, this is what, when they have the body program involved, and they have this other people who is not their teacher, is not their mom, is not their dad, is not their big brother, and when they have this person came and then they have the one-to-one interaction, and then doing something that both enjoy doing. Like can be soccer, can be on the walking or fishing or whatever they do.
That's true.
And they have this other person saying, oh, you're doing so good, and this is very important for you to succeed in life. And then that is not only the teachers, not only the mom, it's someone now that they trust also. It make a huge difference in their children's life.
Yeah, I think our big buddies are all, in our trainings, we really, really stress that fact that you're not the parent, but you're still a positive role model, and how can you be supportive of those parents and really getting these kids to be really set up successfully to do just whatever they want in life. Yeah.
So I'm curious, Molly, what do you think about the fact that we embarrass our kids when we go into the building?
I don't think we stand a chance. We're always we all embarrass them.
So because
middle
you see
school,
parents,
but
you see parents really involved in like preschool and early elementary grades,
and it's
very
perfectly
active.
appropriate. And in 5th grade we have parents, in 6th grade as well, that go on outdoor ed trips. In 7th grade we draw the line. You can't go on outdoor ed trips with your kid anymore. Often harder for the parents to hear. The parents that have been but I always go. In 7th grade, you don't go anymore. You can go on the trip maybe with a different set of kids, but not your own, because it's appropriate. Kids should start trying to do things on their own. We're going to, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to provide that safety net. You think you can be successful in school without doing any homework? This is your week to try, and how does it feel at the end? We know that it's not going to ruin them forever, or that, that mail off their report card from that 1 week to the press or anything like that. But you don't want to just tell them what you think is going to happen, because you want to give them a chance to try it,
and discover it for themselves.
No matter how silly the idea is, you never know what's going to happen.
So and to do that when the stakes are small.
That's a perfect example of middle school. I mean, we changed when I first started. We had semesters. We had 2 quarters and then a final and a cumulative grade, and we're like, why are we doing this? Because high school transcripts and gaining credit, it's a different thing. But in middle school we have 4 standalone quarters, so that you can try out your own behaviors and then say, well, that didn't go very well, I need some help, or we think you need some help, whoever's saying that, and then try it again, because this is the time to start practicing doing things on your own.
And failing, and there's I think kids should be failing.
Yeah, I've said, a lot of parents have heard me say before, they'll be stressing out about 6th grade or 7th grade and the homework and this, and I said, stop for a minute. You've already you passed 6th grade. You've done that already. I did it as well. And we have to look at who's working harder, the kid or the parent, and how do we shift that power back to the student.
And I have to clarify that I just said that weird thing that I think kids should be failing. Well, I just mean they should be trying lots of things. That'll be Charlotte's quote. Kids should fail more.
No, I think
it means they're trying new things, and like you said, trying them on to see how they fit.
Right, exactly.
I think that's really important.
And with that, they're going to try on their different personalities, their different styles, different attitudes.
And you know what? Those are great things for parents to talk to their kids about and to be involved in discussions around.
Yeah. And I think to Ligia's point, kids have teachers and they have counselors and they have maybe a therapist outside of school and their parents. And so as many other adults in their lives, whether it's a formal mentor through the buddy program or a favorite aunt or a grandparent, I think as many adults in their lives who can be encouraging them to really do well and say, this is important to me, it should be important to you too, and how can I help you with school and how can I help you make the grade is really critical.
Is there a point where it's too much? Do parents, as kids get older, or even at any age, are we just too overbearing, too involved? Is that possible?
One thing I heard earlier, Tina, you were talking about, you have 2 adult children who are both finishing doctoral programs, and people say, how did you do that? What was your trick? And we didn't get much further in that discussion, but one thing that came to my mind is at some point you taught them resiliency, because they were able to go out and do it. Even kids who have all the tutors in the world and parents saying, this is your structured schedule Monday through Saturday. Well, we see those kids go to college where I think we know it's like, hey, no structure, figure it out. And if they don't have those skills already to power through the hard times and to make a decision on their own and deal with possible failure and I'm going to get up and try it again, then that's what it is in the world that gets us through into the next level. It's not, my parents paid for the best tutor and they were there 5 days a week with me. So I think, and mentors are a huge factor in developing resiliency and building it.
And all of these contribute to self-esteem, which is another reason someone would say, I can go for my doctoral
Sure.
program. I'm capable
Exactly.
of that.
Yeah.
And it might be really hard, and and it's okay if middle school is hard as well. If we jump in and do it for them, well, I think, like I said, we've already proven we can do the 6th grade math work some days. It's very hard, but helping them figure out how to do it on their own, or teaching them the skills to ask for help, whether from a mentor or an older tutor, a high school student, something, I think.
And knowing that those people will still be in your life if you do fail.
Right.
And that,
Without
you
judging.
still have your support system
Yeah.
and they're not going anywhere.
So you're saying, I think, Molly, if I'm hearing you right, too, that it becomes too much parent involvement when we deprive kids of learning the
opportunity.
self-resiliency and learning the
Yeah.
self-motivation
Yep.
because we're doing it for them and
Yeah.
overdoing to try to protect,
Yeah.
maybe?
Or because we're teaching them, failure's not okay, or we're scared of failure. I mean, all those, you could read into it a million different ways, but bottom line is, in real life as adults, we've all experienced probably things that we were good at, things that, didn't go very well, and you learn from it. So giving our kids the chance to do the same thing like somebody did for us.
Right. Yeah, great point.
And always learned. Like seeing that any opportunity it is, or any, whether they pass or they fail, it is a learning opportunity.
Right.
And it's a huge difference when a child is this brilliant mind, and that the grades come so easy for them, and then some others that they struggle a little bit, but they enjoy the learning, and they even though they try harder than others, but it is the difference, how they find themselves learning from it, and then they're really prepared to come to school and try their best, and even they come home and say, I got a B, or I got a C, and look at it, that's my best that I can do it. I started so hard, and this is huge.
Oh, and teachers would love that kid, And how fortunate for the kid who is, as you said, super smart, top of his class, and has that motivation. Think how far they're going to go. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. Well, our time is almost up. I wanted to say that Joyce Epstein with Johns Hopkins University came up with a framework for the 6 types of involvement. And you can find them online if you want to look that up, the 6 types of involvement. But the number one thing that she attributes to, that is a success factor in parental involvement, is parenting. And that's what we're really talking about. So again, there are 6 things that she talks about, but number 1 is parenting. And so I want to thank the Buddy Program for setting up this fabulous panel, and all of the organizations who are part of the consortium that's working on parenting here in the Roaring Fork Valley, and the El Pomar Foundation for the grant that's providing the support for that. It's really a great thing for parents to have access to, and a great resource.
Thank you,
So
Charlotte.
thank you. And thank you guys all for being here, and thanks to all of our sponsors as part of MomsTV.
The days go by, I can feel them flying like a hand out the window as the cars go